This is Bob Maloney from MyMMAnews.com. And, I've been covering, the regional mixed martial arts scene in Philadelphia since I've been in the business, like 2006. And there is nobody out there that promotes Philly MMA more than my guest tonight, Matty Netterville. Don't call him Matty Matt. That's him on Facebook. I have to smack myself in the head. Matty, how you feeling, brother? You just got done training over at Grindhouse, where a bunch of great fighters train. Before we get into this, how you feeling? It's a great time in Philly MMA. It's great to be alive in mixed martial arts fighting right now in our area.
I'm doing great, man. The sport has come so far since, I got into it probably back in like the early 2000s, and it has just blown up. It's crazy.
Listen, let's start from the beginning when we're talking about Philly MMA, because listen, Matty and I want everybody to share this because, the reason that I hooked up with Matty is because we want to see, we feel like the fighters in Philly right now deserve an event, a UFC event in Philly. It's set up perfectly, but we want to talk a little bit about the history and how we got there. And the Underground King started it all, Eddie Alvarez. And Eddie Alvarez, listen, he's fought all over the world. He was Bellator. He was a UFC lightweight champion. And the greatest thing about Eddie is he's a real guy, man. He comes to regional events and cheers on guys, coaches guys. I know he's been at Grindhouse. He's over at NPR. He visits local gyms, and you know what? He's a gem. Eddie Alvarez is a gem, and we are lucky to have him. He started it all. Matty, just tell me a couple things about, I know you've gotten to talk with Eddie. Just talk a little bit about his career and, how he basically put Philly MMA on the map.
It's actually kind of funny because I got the same story that everybody got, but like mine's kind of true. Like I actually went to high school with Eddie. So like everybody you ever meet, like, oh, my cousin's Eddie Alvarez, or like, oh, I went to school with Eddie. But like, they kind of, I had basically every class with Eddie. Super nice dude, super, athletic, great wrestler, good football player. And he was going to the Fight Factory years ago when he first started. So it was like, oh, dude, Eddie's fighting. And then he would go down AC, fight. We would all go down cheese buses and be there, 200 people that we graduated with and from the neighborhood cheering him on. And then he just blew up. I mean, he was really, really good. Made a hell of a living for himself and put Philly on the map. And one of the nicest dudes you'll ever meet. Anytime anybody's ever asked him, like, my daughter, can I get a picture with you? He gets a picture. He'll give his time to anybody. So Eddie's a good guy.
Hey, listen, like I said, he's the pioneer of Philly MMA, and here we are now, and he's still involved. And I love seeing him on social media, going to places and training. And he roots for the guys. He roots amateur guys. He doesn't care. He roots for Philly MMA, and we're proud to call him ours. We really are.
He helped Brady get into the UFC. He called Dana, got him in. So,
right. So we're going to get back to Eddie later on, but listen, we're going to move here. So Eddie basically set the tone, fought, and he was really the only Philly connection we had for a long time in the UFC. And basically the next guy from Philly who made a name for himself and got into the UFC is Paul, the Irish Dragon Felder. Paul is 17-6 in his career. He was 9-6 in the UFC, and he actually has a victory over the current champ, Charles Oliveira. Well, he's not the champ now. Technically he's not the champion right now. And now Paul, to me, I think he's one of the best commentators in the world. And if you know Paul and you see him training, he's like retired, I guess, from fighting, but the dude is like in impeccable shape, and I'm hoping to see him back. But Paul has been in some memorable fights, Matty. Paul, dude, he's phenomenal, and another great person too.
Yeah, he beat the current champ. The Dan Hooker fight, I think Paul won. I'll say you got, he's right there. His career has been awesome. And like you said, a commentator. I love to see that he's now able to make a living doing that. I mean, who knows where that's going to go. So love to see these guys, parlay their fighting career into, a long-term career.
Well, while Paul was fighting, the next Philly guy, South Jersey guy, same region, Jonathan Webb. Now listen, Jonathan Webb didn't have a lot of success in the UFC. He was only there for a couple of fights and didn't win. But Jonathan has been a tremendous ambassador for the sport in the community. He still trains with those guys over at Daniel Gracie and Marquez, and he has a beautiful facility in Washington Township. Shout out to Webb MMA and Fitness. He's doing a great job. Tell me a little bit about Jonathan. I know you've had to mingle with him. He's another great guy.
Jonathan's a stud, man. Very, very good. And he's a major part of all them guys' success. I mean, he's working with Brady every day. He's, Jeremiah, all them guys, guys at his own place, the guys at Marquez. He's in there with them. He ain't just like coaching them either. Like he's in there with them, getting them ready. They owe him, a lot of their success is due to Jonathan. And his facility, like you said, I went over there last winter. I was like, God damn. I mean, that's like gym goals right there, what he's got going on. He's
doing a hell of a job doing the matchmaking for Fury Grappling right now. You're seeing some phenomenal grappling right now in Philly, and Jonathan is knee deep in that, setting that all up. So he continues to contribute to the community, to the fight community, and he's still training with those guys. So Jonathan Webb, like I said, even though he didn't have a ton of success fighting in the UFC, Jonathan Webb is Philly MMA. Let's talk about it. So listen, we're going to do this instead of chronologically because we want to give love to every gym. So I'm just going to go through every guy and we're going to stick the guys in the gym together. Now, Senor Perfecto Bill Algeo. Listen, a lot of guys, when they talk about Philly MMA, they forget that Bill Algeo is Philly MMA. Bill Algeo, listen, he's trained at Balance MMA. He spent hours with Martinez. He has another great facility, Algeo MMA and Kickboxing and King of Prussia. For those of you that don't know, that's on the suburbs. It's outside of Philadelphia. But Bill made his bones. He's left blood, sweat, and tears on the mats in Philly. And he's brothers with all those guys. And, he's an icon in the sport to me. I've been cage side for many of his fights before he made. I was begging for him to get into the UFC for 5 or 6 fights before he got there. He's there now, and he's 2-2 in the UFC, and he's got a fight coming up too. Told me what you think about Bill Algeo.
He's exciting, man. Puts on good fights. Well-rounded, very well-rounded. Sit there and bang. Fast fight. All over the guy. It was great, man. He's a tough dude, and very lucky to have him around here. I never actually got to work with him, but I know tons of guys that have, and they all have, the highest things to say about him. So
what I love about Bill, right, is Bill, he got into the sport and he was almost like a grappler. He was a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And the crazy thing is he started training a lot of Muay Thai, and now he wants to stand up and fight the whole time. So here he is. We got a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and you're thinking he wants to grapple, but he got hooked up with Crew Eric Carner, and now Bill is like, let me stand on my feet and bang. I love this. And he has such a nice array of striking. And like I said, Bill, don't let anybody not include you in Philly MMA because Senor Perfecto is Philly MMA. Now let's move on to our next school and fighters. Martinez, BJJ over there, one of my favorite spots in Northeast Philly on Cotman Avenue, and we have the Dawkins brothers right now, in there. We have Chris, the heavyweight, who fought in his last 2 main events. He didn't do too well, but excuse me, he was in the top 10. He's still in the top 10. Knockout power, speed for a heavyweight, and his younger brother.
So fast.
Yeah, I mean, he literally is, and his brother Kyle, who, listen, when Kyle started fighting in MMA, Matty, he was like a soft heavyweight. Now he's worked so hard, gotten him down south to middleweight. He has a fight coming up. Kyle does next week against Roman Dolidze, and that's June 18th in Austin, Texas, UFC Fight Night. Now, both of those guys, what I love about them is they work to get there, and their transformation as far as strength and conditioning has been incredible. And as a matter of fact, when I watch these guys as an outsider, I say, you know what? The reason they are where they are is because they made that extra commitment to strength and conditioning, which is so important. Tell me a little bit about what you think about the Martinez guys, the Dawkins brothers. I know you're always rooting on for them. You're always cheering them on Facebook.
So I started years ago, like Fight Factory for a couple months and Rocco's for a couple months. And I found Jerry up here for a couple months. And then Martinez was right by my work. So I started, actually my gi work was through them. And man, they're just hard-nosed guys. Get after it, get after it, get after it. I remember, rolling in gi in the middle of the summer and he going on the Frank Cotman Ave right there, catching your breath between the rounds, about to throw up, and then going right back in. He's got the heater on all year round. Like that, them guys get after it. Now, Chris and Kyle were right about their blue belt. I was a white belt when we started. And then, they were progressing. They're both black belts now. And then they taught some of the striking classes. So I actually got to learn some striking through them. Super talented, all hard work, good guys. Won't say anything bad about anybody. So just good guys you want to root for. So, and I believe Chris went to North. I think it closed before Kyle, but Chris is North Catholic Pride, I believe, along with Eddie. So good.
Absolutely. And I want to give a shout out to their coach, Will Martinez, who, listen, I have so much respect for. I think he's not just one of the best coaches in Philadelphia. I think he's one of the best coaches in the world. I mean, phenomenal fight record, Bellator veteran, accomplished grappler, and just a pillar in the community, and has had that family together over there at Martinez. He's built really something nice over there. And, I love those guys over there. Like I said, they treat me like gold, open door policy. They let me go over there. I don't even need, if I want to talk to a fighter over there, I don't even need to call Will and get permission. He says, what are you calling me for? It's just, you can come in here anytime. And that's how Will is. And he's like that with anybody. I mean, they'll welcome fight, just like all these gyms here. That's one of the great things too. I'm going to talk about when we finish up here, Matt, is it's not like, even though each gym is separate, they kind of like root for each other. It's like a community thing. So, even though, you're training over here at this gym and they're training over here at this gym, they're all rooting for one another. Everybody's together in this, just like you and me. And like I said, we want Philly MMA to keep prospering because this is as great as it's ever been. And now we're going to move on to right now, Daniel Gracie Philly and Marquez MMA, who are really, I think it's 14 or 15 wins in a row from this gym. There's 4 fighters right now in the UFC from there, and we're going to go over every one of them because they all deserve their time because they put their time in, so we're going to give them their time. We're going to start off first with Jeremiah Wells. Jeremiah Wells is 2-0 in the UFC, 2 spectacular finishes, a rear naked choke or a submission, excuse me, and a vicious knockout in first and the second round. He's also fighting on the same card with Kyle Dawkins coming up on the second. And Jeremiah Wells, listen, he's a highlight reel waiting to happen. He finally got the call too. I can't wait to see him fight again. What do you think about Jeremiah Wells' style and his future?
Very well-rounded, super explosive, very strong, can knock anybody out. Like you said, a highlight reel. He's a scary guy in that division.
Okay, and like I said, we'll be rooting for him coming up on the 18th. Let's move on to Andre Petrosky. Listen, Andre Petrosky, 8-1, 3-0 in the UFC. He was on the Ultimate Fighter, and he was the first pick of Team Ortega. He was really popular on the show, but he didn't have he did get cut in a fight and he lost. But they were so impressed with him that he did get a contract. And listen, they got to be patting themselves on the back because the guy's been spectacular. 3-0, 3 finishes. We know that he can wrestle and grapple with anybody. His striking is just getting better. I think Petrosky at middleweight is going to be a problem for people. I love watching him fight. Listen, I was cage side I was commentating for Art of War. I've gotten to see Andre and become good friends with him. I've gotten to see 7 or 8 fights from cage side calling it. So maybe I'm a little prejudiced, but listen, the dude's getting the job done. Talk to me about Petrosky.
And well-rounded, very good wrestler, good grappler. 3-0, right, in 3 finishes. And the last one was awesome. Like, he was the underdog and grabbed the anaconda. That was phenomenal. When he got to that position, he's there, and he's listening to Daniel go. And then Daniel's giving him advice about not rushing it and just, getting his grip. And I can't believe the dude stayed there. And the dude must have thought he was comfortable. Nope, put him right out. So that was awesome. He was out, too. But him now with Marquez helping his striking, too, I think he's another one to watch out for in the division. All these guys, this is very tough crew.
Listen, Petrosky, his grappling, I almost call him like a power jiu-jitsu guy, because when he's on top of you, he has that vicious ground and pound. But like you were saying with the Anaconda, when he gets his hands on you and he's on top of you, dude, you're in trouble, man. It's time to push the panic button when you're on the bottom with him.
I rolled with him, I think over the summer. I didn't even this. I don't know. The first time I rolled with him, and we're there, we smack hands, bump, and I sick guard, and he's on. I'm like, God, this dude, I can't move him. I can't move this dude. Then I find out, he's a D1 wrestler, and I'm like, okay, I feel a little bit better. But
now his other team. Let's move on to his teammate over there, Patrick Sabatini. Listen, Patrick Sabatini, he's over at MPR with Eric Purcell, and he does coaching over there, teaches classes, trains there. He's also with Gracie and Marquez. He's been there for a long time. Another spectacular fighter, 4-0 in the UFC, 17-3. Performance of the night a couple times. I love the kid. He's got game everywhere, on the ground, stand up, cardio, 145-pound beast. Sabatini, man, give him some love.
So Pat is probably the nicest guy you'll ever meet. He's insanely nice. Like, everything's just like, hey, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Like, thanks you for the roll afterwards and everything. Like, I'm like, dude, thanking me for the roll. Like, you just beat the shit out of me. I just learned all this stuff. Why are you thanking me? This was your rest round. But he's awesome. And I honestly think he's going to be champion. I think he's good enough. I think he'll be champion one day. He always outworking everybody. Phenomenal wrestler. Great at jiu-jitsu. Very good striking. I just think he has it all. I think he can be champion. I truly do.
I also think the Sambo, that he's done in the past has helped him a ton, because for being a 145-pounder, he has a lot of hip strength. Yep. for a 45er, and I love his game. I agree with you. I think he has a very bright future.
Battle he got into. He got the flash knockout. He's on the bottom. Guy's going for the toe hold. He rips the heel hook on him. He turned a really bad situation into a real quick. So that's all that Sambo and leg locks and all that stuff.
Yeah, and like you said, he's so humble after the fight. He was apologizing, and I'm like, why are you apologizing, Pat? You just put on an amazing performance. And like I said, he's got a bright future. And listen, if we're going to have an event in Philly, and we went through all these fighters, and I hope Dana White sees this, because we have 6 or 7 guys here. We will sell Philly out. Come the main event. Sean Brady, 15-0, 5-0 in the UFC. Nobody wants to fight him. He trains over there at Marquez MMA and Gracie, and he trains and coaches over here with my man Matty Netterville at Grindhouse. Sean Brady is such a stud. And listen, before you talk about him, because I know you know so much about him because he's like your brother over there. When I was watching him, Matty, as growing up as an amateur, and I got to interview him for the website when I was younger, and he was younger. And, I asked him, first thing I asked him is, where did you wrestle? Because his grappling, let's face it, just a lot of guys, his style, he's a beast. He takes you down, and you hear Paul Felder talk about him. Once he takes you down, you're not getting up. And when I watched him fight as a younger fighter, he was so amazing at taking guys down and just dominating them that I thought he was a wrestler. No wrestling background at all. He's just a natural. I mean, he's in there against wrestlers. He's taking them down. He is so strong. He works hard. He's got all the game, 15-0, still one of the few undefeated fighters in the UFC, 5-0 in the UFC. I feel he deserves a main event. He wants a main event. He's calling guys out. Nobody wants him. Give some love to your brother, because, listen, a Philly event with Sean Brady as the main event would just be crazy over here, and that's what we would love to see.
Yeah, Sean's the man, and, nobody outworks him. He works so hard. We were up at, I believe, in Allentown. We were cornering fights, me and him. It was one of Stefanelli's fights. So we go up. He drives back, drops me off. I go to the after party with Stefanelli, all that. So it's probably about 12:30, and my brother lives in Fox Chase, right around where Sean Brady used to live. My brother calls me. He's like, yo, is Sean Brady with you? I'm like, nah, he dropped me off about an hour ago. He's like, I think he's out running right now. It's like midnight. This dude's out running, getting miles, and that's just the type of guy he is. Strength and conditioning, running, skill work every single day. He lives it. And, you know, nutrition, doesn't drink. You know, you're not going to be, oh, you're showing that. I got him a cake for his, when he got his black belt, brought it into the gym, all that. He didn't even want a piece. He's like, nah, I'm all right. I'm on a diet, you know, watching right now. So, but super hard worker, deserves everything that comes his way, and would be great to have a main event.
Well, he's called out Stephen Thompson, who's afraid of grapplers right now. He's called out Bilal Muhammad. I mean, he's
fun in that dude. And Paul Felder's friends with him. Paul, make this happen. Let's go.
Listen, like I said, he can't get a fight for some reason. Hopefully the UFC can figure this out, because there's a lot of guys that are running around and want to fight other guys, but you don't hear anybody call out. You figure, let me fight the undefeated guy, right? Nobody wants to fight the undefeated guy and give him his first loss, because maybe they don't think they can. But a main event, Dana White, let's go, man. Philly MMA. And on top of that, Matty, when you look right at the landscape, and we talked about the guys who are in the UFC right now, we got a lot of guys that are right behind them. Your guy that you just talked about earlier, listen, Stefanelli, man, my God, I want to give you some love and credit, because you guys tortured him, and you know what? That's what he needed, and now he has become such another bully in there. I love his future. We got Basil Hafez, who had an injury. He moved out to Denver, but he's a Philly guy. Joe Bodybags Pfeiffer is coming up on the Dana White Contender Series. I mean, we have a lot of prospects. We have some females in the wings. We got a lot of fighters coming up that we're going to have even more in the UFC. It's just been so fantastic.
And like the way I look at it is like, you know, we cheer for the Eagles. Like when they're on, it's like, yeah, you want the Eagles when you're from Philly. You know, the Sixers, same thing. Like, let's get behind these fighters. You know, it's Philly. We're not, oh, he trains at this gym, I don't like that gym. Or he trains at this gym, No, I think they should honestly start training together, you know, work together, you know, make it a powerhouse. And, you know, Dawkins is on. All right, yeah, I'm cheering for Dawkins every single time. I don't care who he's fighting. I don't care if he's fighting my favorite fighter. That's, you know, who I'm rooting for, the Philly guy. You know, just the same way we do for the Eagles.
That's my man, Matty Netterville. Matty's been in the cage before when he was younger. He probably doesn't remember. He's not as old as me, but he's still an OG. Matty, man, thank you for joining me. Listen, Philly MMA, you and I both love it. We're both going to continue to promote it. We're both going to continue to root for all these guys. Give out some love to whoever you want before we rock and roll, my man.
Not just all these fighters working hard. Obviously, always Grindhouse MMA. My boy Jerry Bradley running a good ship up here. You know, just keep getting after it, man. Keep putting on exciting fights, and I'm gonna keep supporting you. Bob's gonna keep supporting you. So let's get after it. Get a couple titles in this town.
And listen, if you go to a regional event and Matty Netterville's there working the corner, you know he's there because Matty's one of the loudest dudes. I'll be commentating and I can like have to like put my hand. Glad I have the headphones on because man, Matty wants I can hear your emotion, and that's one of the reasons I love you. You're emotional like me, and I know that you're giving your heart and soul to that fighter that you're working with. And you guys got a great team over there at Grindhouse, Jerry, all those guys, all those young up and coming fighters. And man, thank you for putting in the time and contributing to the community too, Matty. You're very valuable. And listen, man, thank you for your time. And I look forward to the future, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. You and I are going to have a lot of fun. We're just starting this shit in Philly right now, and we're going to have future champions. There's a lot of guys that we just went over that have really bright futures and high ceilings, and me and Matty are going to be smiling and partying and drinking beers when we have championship belts in Philly, because it's just a matter of time. Now get us an event, Dana. Let's go.
Let's go.
All right, brother.